You know those films that just stick with you? The ones you almost wish you could step right into, feel the tension, experience the moments?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, for so many people, Die Hard is definitely one of those. It's just iconic.
A classic for a reason.
Exactly. That reluctant hero, the setting, yippee-ki-yay. I mean, come on.
Right.
But what happens when Hollywood heroes, especially someone like John McClane, make that jump from the big screen to, well, your PC?
Yeah, that transition, it can be tricky. Sometimes magic, sometimes not so much.
And that's exactly what we're digging into today.
Yep. For this deep dive, we're setting our sights on a specific game from back in 2002, Die Hard, Nakatomi Plaza.
Specifically, the Microsoft Windows version.
That's the one. It had huge shoes to fill, trying to translate maybe one of the best action films ever into something you could actually play.
Right. So our mission today is to really unpack that. We're sifting through the sources, looking at its development, how it tried to recreate those moments we all remember.
And maybe the most interesting part, how it was actually received. The reviews were, well, we'll get into that.
It's all about finding those surprising details, those aha moments that tell us something bigger about adapting movies into games.
It's a fascinating look at the ambition and, yeah, the difficulties.
Okay, so grab your Zippo, check your radio, maybe take off your shoes and make fists with your toes. We're heading into Nakatomi Plaza. Okay, let's unpack this. Die Hard, Nakatomi Plaza. What was it actually trying to be back in 2002?
Well, at its heart, it was a first-person shooter, an FPS.
Which makes sense, right?
It does, yeah. The genre was already huge by then, and you think about Die Hard, it's mostly one guy, trapped, outnumbered, navigating this tight space.
A high-rise, yeah. They were claustrophobic.
Exactly. So that first-person view, putting you right there, it seems like a natural fit. The game was developed by Piranha Games.
Okay.
And co-published by Fox Interactive, obviously, given the movie license, and Sierra Entertainment.
Sierra, wow. Big names back then. So you mentioned the FPS fit. Yeah. What about the Die Hard narrative itself makes it so suited for that?
Well, think about McClane. He's not some super soldier, right? He's just a cop, an everyman, really.
Bleeding, vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. That sense of vulnerability, being cornered, the desperate improvisation, the close quarters fighting, it all lends itself really well to that immersive first-person viewpoint.
You are McClane, basically.
Yeah.
Looking through his eyes.
That's the goal. You feel his limits, you try to think like him. But the big question is always, how much of the film's specific tension can you actually capture?
Because movies pace things differently.
Totally. Films build suspense, have quiet moments, then bursts of action. Games, especially FPS games back then, often lean more towards constant action.
So finding that balance.
Tricky.
Feeling vulnerable, but also capable.
That's the tightrope walk. Really hard to nail down.
And it was a Windows exclusive you mentioned. What does that tell us?
Well, back in 2002, PC exclusivity often suggested a few things. Maybe aiming for more complex controls, like keyboard and mouse setups allow.
Right, more precision maybe.
Potentially better graphics than consoles at the time, or at least a different kind of visual focus. And definitely targeting that core PC gamer audience.
An audience maybe more used to shooters and simulations.
Yeah, perhaps. It wasn't trying to be a big cross-platform console release initially. It knew its audience, or thought it did.
Okay, so FPS on PC. The next big thing has to be Nakatomi Plaza itself.
Right.
Recreating that building, those moments.
Absolutely central. The game puts you right there. Christmas Eve, terrorists taking over. You're McClane, trying to stop it all.
Just like the movie.
And they really did seem to aim for fidelity. The sources say the levels were based directly on the film sets.
So walking around those office floors, the lobby, it should feel familiar.
That was the idea. The stairwells, the vents, classic McClane territory, all meant to evoke that specific place.
The Nakatomi Tower architecture.
Right. And it wasn't just the look. They specifically tried to recreate action scenes from the film, too.
Oh, interesting. So not just a generic shooter set in the building.
No, the intent seemed to be letting players actually relive key moments. A virtual tour, but, you know, with guns.
Huh, right.
What's fascinating there, though, is the challenge of actually doing that. Recreating movie scenes.
Yeah. How do you make something we watched passively into something interactive?
Exactly. Developers have to choose what scenes must be in. The rooftop explosion, the fight with Carl.
Crawling through the vents.
Right. And how do you make crawling through a vent fun or tense in a game?
It's different when you're holding the mouse and keyboard versus just watching Bruce Willis do it.
Fundamentally different. The pacing, the surprise, The cinematic tension, it all has to be re-engineered for player agency. You can't just copy-paste.
Like the scene with the glass on the floor. How do you even approach that?
Good question. Is it a cutscene? Is it a tense mechanic where you have to move carefully, manage health? Those decisions define whether it feels authentic or just flat.
Yeah, big choices.
Huge.
But speaking of authenticity, here's something really cool they did manage.
Oh, yeah.
Reginald VelJohnson?
As Al Powell, no way.
Yes. He came back to do the voice work for Al in the game.
Wow. Okay, that is a big deal for fans.
Huge, right. Al Powell isn't just some side character. He's McClane's anchor, his link to the outside.
The voice of reason on the radio.
Exactly. So hearing the actual actor's voice, that adds a massive layer of immersion.
It connects you directly back to the film in a way visuals alone can't. You hear that voice, and instantly it feels more real, more diehard.
It shows they were really trying, at least in some areas, to get it right for the fans, not just a generic sound-alike.
That emotional resonance is key. It elevates it beyond just a technical exercise.
Okay, so they're aiming for authenticity, recreating scenes, getting original actors. But what about the tech behind it all, the engine?
Ah, yes. This is where the story gets particularly interesting and maybe a bit messy.
How so?
While Nakatomi Plaza had a pretty wild ride with its game engines, it didn't just stick with one. Our sources note it started development using a modified build engine.
Built like Duke Nukem 3D build engine.
The very same. Known for that specific, almost retro FPS style even then. Fast-paced, often sprite-based enemies in 3D worlds.
Okay, interesting choice for Die Hard.
Maybe not the best fit for cinematic realism, perhaps? Because then they apparently shifted to the GoldSrc engine?
GoldSrc, that's Half-Life.
Exactly. Renowned for its storytelling, its level design, atmospheric capabilities.
Yeah.
Much more suited for narrative-driven stuff.
That sounds like a better fit, yeah. More potential for scripting, environmental storytelling.
You think so? But they didn't stick with that either.
Wait, really? A third engine?
Yep. The game was finally released using LithTech 2.0.
LithTech? Wasn't that used for No One Lives Forever?
That's the one. Known for being pretty versatile, good with level geometry, lighting, environmental effects, things you definitely want for recreating Nakatomi Plaza.
Okay, wow. Build to GoldSrc to LithTech. Why? Why would a game change engines so drastically during development?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It suggests challenges, major ones.
Like technical hurdles, performance issues.
Could be. Or maybe shifting creative visions. Each engine change is a massive undertaking. You're potentially throwing out huge amounts of work.
Redoing levels, animations, coding.
Pretty much. It implies significant rework, big learning curves for the team. It could point to development hell, honestly, or maybe just a relentless pursuit of better tech as it became available.
Chasing visual fidelity or better mechanics.
Possibly, but 3 major engine switches. That's rare. It really highlights a potentially troubled or at least very ambitious and shifting development cycle.
Okay, so they finally land on LithTech 2.0. What was the actual gameplay like beyond the engine?
The sources describe it as pretty standard first-person shooter gameplay. You know, you move, you aim, you shoot.
McClane style.
McClane style. It featured 5 different types of firearms, your usual suspects, presumably. Pistols, SMGs.
Shotguns, maybe assault rifles the terrorists dropped.
Probably stuff like that. The kind of arsenal you'd expect McClane to piece together.
But it wasn't just about the guns, right? McClane's famous for using other things.
Right. And the game included some of those key items, specifically the Zippo lighter and the Motorola radio.
The essentials.
Exactly. These aren't just random items, they're iconic parts of his character in the film. The lighter isn't just for smokes.
It's for seeing in the dark vents.
Or maybe signaling or causing distractions. And the radio, that's his lifeline to Al.
So how did they work in the game? Were they just flavor or actual mechanics?
That's the key question. Did the Zippo actually light up dark areas? Could you use the radio to get real-time updates or hints from Al?
That could be really cool, making you feel resourceful, not just relying on shooting.
That's where a Die Hard game could really shine, right?
Yeah.
Capturing that improvisation, using the environment, using these specific tools, making them integral, not just window dressing.
They didn't nail that. We'll have to see what the reviews said, I guess.
We will.
Now, another interesting thing, the game apparently went beyond the film's plot sometimes.
It did, yeah. While trying to recreate iconic scenes, it also added missions that weren't in the movie.
Like what?
Things like escorting a SWAT team through the offices, or missions focused on saving hostages on different floors.
Oh, okay. So padding it out a bit, maybe?
Yeah.
Or giving you more to do?
Could be seen either way. On one hand, a movie's plot might not be long enough for a full game, especially in FPS from that era.
Right. Films are maybe 2 hours. Games often aim for 10 plus.
So adding original content makes sense from a playtime perspective. It also gives more player agency, new objectives, maybe explores parts of the building the film didn't show.
A chance to flesh things out, add more action set pieces.
Exactly. Maybe some new challenges, puzzles, different kinds of encounters. But there's always a but with adaptations.
Does it feel like Die Hard? Or does it feel like filler?
That's the balancing act. Does the new stuff enhance the experience, feel true to the spirit, or does it dilute the core narrative that people love?
Yeah. Fans can be very protective of the source material. Adding stuff is risky.
Very risky. It really impacts how players feel about the overall authenticity. Did these extra missions feel like McClane, or just generic FPS objectives with a die-hard skin?
Okay, so ambitious concept, turbulent tech journey, trying to balance fidelity with new content. How did it all land? What did the critics think?
Ah, the moment of truth. Well, the sources are pretty clear. The reception was mixed.
Mixed, the classic descriptor.
Yep. According to Metacritic, the aggregate score was 54 out of 100.
54. Okay, so decidedly middle of the road on average. Not great, not terrible.
Pretty much the definition of mixed. But that average score often hides some real extremes in the individual reviews.
And that seems to be the case here.
Oh, definitely. Especially with licensed games, subjectivity plays a huge role. How much do you weigh the game mechanics versus the faithfulness to the movie?
Right, different critics prioritize different things.
A 54 suggests that for every point of praise, there was likely a significant criticism dragging it down. It points towards a really polarized reaction. Some people probably loved it, some not so much.
So let's get into those specifics. You said polarized. How polarized are we talking?
We are talking wildly polarized, like night and day differences.
Okay.
On the high end, you had Game Informer giving it an 8 out of 10.
8. That's pretty good. That's a solid recommendation.
Very solid. Suggests they really clicked with it, found a lot to enjoy.
Okay. So what's the other end of the spectrum?
Eurogamer, they gave it a 3 out of 10.
3. Wow. Okay, that's harsh. That's basically saying it's borderline unplayable or deeply flawed.
It's a scathing score, yeah.
Yeah.
Signals major disappointment.
So how can you have an 8 and a 3 for the same game? What could Game Informer have liked so much?
You have to assume they really responded to the atmosphere, the faithfulness. Maybe they felt it did capture that claustrophobic Nakatomi feel.
Feeling like John McClane, reliving those moments.
Exactly. Maybe the integration of the Zippo and radio felt clever to them. For a diehard fan, perhaps the sheer joy of being in that world was enough to overlook flaws. They might have praised the level design for its accuracy to the film.
Okay, makes sense. They leaned into the die-hard of it all.
Possibly. But then, what drove Eurogamer to that 310?
Yeah, what went so wrong there?
Could be a number of things. Maybe they found the core FPS mechanics totally generic, uninspired, especially compared to other shooters coming out then.
It didn't innovate at all, just point and shoot.
Perhaps. Or maybe those technical issues we speculated about stemming from the engine changes. Maybe they were really prominent.
Bugs, bad performance, glitches.
Absolutely. A low score like that often points to serious technical problems that impede the experience. Or maybe they just felt it relied too heavily on the movie, didn't add enough engaging gameplay of its own, felt like a shallow imitation.
Ouch. Just a poor game wearing a die-hard costume.
That could have been their take. Very critical of the execution.
So those were the extremes. What about the others? Do they fall somewhere in between?
Pretty much clustered in that middle mixed ground, confirming the overall Metacritic score. GameSpot gave it a 5.7.
Okay.
IGN was very close with a 5.5.
Right around that average.
Exactly. PC Gamer in the US gave it 58%. A bit more positive was PC Zone in the UK with 74%.
74. That's leaning towards positive, actually.
It is. Then GameSpy landed at 69%. And Game Revolution just gave it a letter grade, D.
A D. Oof. So yeah, really all over the map.
Completely. It paints a picture of a game that hit very differently depending on who was playing it and what they valued.
It's fascinating, that range.
Yeah.
It really suggests that personal expectation was huge here.
Immense. Was it a game primarily for die-hard fans who'd forgive flaws for the fantasy fulfillment?
Running around Nakatomi Plaza as McClane.
Yeah. Or was it fundamentally a mediocre shooter that got a bit of a pass from some because of the powerful license attached?
While others, maybe the more hardcore FPS players or technical critics, saw right through that.
It really seems like a bit of both. It achieves some level of fan appreciation for its atmosphere and faithfulness, maybe even a cult following, but it clearly failed to impress critics looking for polished mechanics or technical stability.
A classic licensed game conundrum.
Textbook example in many ways, pleasing both die-hard fans and seasoned game critics. Almost impossible sometimes.
All right, so moving beyond the reviews.
Yeah.
How is Die Hard? Nakatomi Plaza actually categorized. Sometimes looking at the tags tells you something interesting.
It does, yeah. It gives you a sense of its identity from different angles, and this one has quite a few tags.
Lay them on us.
Okay, so 2002 video games, obviously. Christmas video games.
Love that one, because it's set on Christmas Eve.
Exactly. Die Hard video games, naturally. First-person shooters. LithTech games, tying back to that final engine choice.
Okay.
Piranha games, Sierra Entertainment Games developer and publisher. Single-player video games about police officers, video games about terrorism.
Core themes right there.
Yep. Video games developed in Canada.
Geographical marker. Piranha games based there.
Vancouver, yeah. Video games scored by Guy Whitmore.
The composer. Important piece.
Crucial for atmosphere. Video games set in Los Angeles. And finally, Windows games, reflecting its platform.
That's quite a list.
Yeah.
Any standouts there?
Well, the Christmas video games tag is always fun. Highlighting that unique setting, it adds a specific flavor, right? That irony, the holiday backdrop for chaos.
Totally.
The police officers and terrorism tags nail the central conflict and McClane's motivation, putting it squarely in that action subgenre.
Law enforcement versus bad guys.
Right. And knowing it was developed in Canada just grounds it, reminds you of the global nature of game dev.
Yeah.
And highlighting the composer, Guy Whitmore, is great, acknowledging the soundscape is vital.
Yeah, the music and sound design in Die Hard are iconic too. His score would have had a lot to live up to.
Absolutely. All these tags together paint a really detailed picture of what the game was, who made it, what it was about, and where it fits.
And it wasn't the only Die Hard game, right? It fits into a larger family.
Oh, definitely not the only one. The source links out to a whole list of them. Die Hard has had quite a long, varied history in video games.
So how does Nakatomi Plaza fit into that lineage?
Well, looking at the list, you've got the really early ones from the late 80s, early 90s for consoles and computers. Die Hard 2 got its own adaptations.
I remember Die Hard Arcade. That was awesome.
A beloved beat-em-up, yeah. Totally different genre. Then you had Die Hard Trilogy on PlayStation and Saturn.
That one was famous for having like 3 different games in one.
Right.
A shooter, a light gun section.
Exactly. Very ambitious. And Trilogy 2, Viva Las Vegas, and later on Die Hard Vendetta. So a lot of different approaches.
So where does Nakatomi Plaza, with its mixed reception, sit in all that? Is it typical for a Die Hard game? An outlier?
That's a good question. Licensed games, especially movie tie-ins from that era, were often hit or miss. Many were rushed, some were clear cash-in.
But some, like Arcade or Trilogy, found success.
They did. Nakatomi Plaza's mixed reviews kind of place it. Well, in the middle, maybe slightly below average for the franchise's more memorable entries. It embodies that ambition to directly recreate the film, which is hard.
Harder than maybe doing a beat-em-up or a collection of minigames based on the theme.
Potentially, yeah. Especially in a demanding genre like FPS, aiming for realism. Its reception feels somewhat typical of the struggles many licensed games faced, balancing faithfulness, gameplay, and technical execution.
But the fact that there are so many Die Hard games...
It just shows the enduring appeal of the franchise, right? People kept wanting to step into McClane's shoes again and again across different console generations and game styles, even if the results varied wildly in quality.
Wow. Okay, so we've really crawled through the air ducts of Die Hard Nakatomi Plaza today.
Nice one.
We've looked at its ambitious goals, that seriously complex development with all the engine swaps.
Yeah, that was something else.
And landed on that really polarized reception. From high praise to, well, pretty harsh criticism.
It's been a fascinating deep dive for sure. It really highlights just how complicated adapting a beloved movie into a game can be.
It's not just about copying the story.
Not at all. It's a reminder that translating that cinematic magic, that specific feeling, into something interactive. It's full of potential pitfalls, technical hurdles, creative choices, and just the simple fact that different players want different things.
Taste is subjective.
Exactly. But the attempt itself tells us a lot. It shows the aspiration and also maybe the limits of what was possible back then.
So here's a thought for you listening. Imagine it's 2002. You love Die Hard. You hear about this game. Knowing everything we've just discussed, the troubled development, the mixed reviews, the A10 from one place, the 310 from another, would you still run barefoot? through broken glass, so to speak, to play Die Hard, Nakatomi Plaza?
Aha! Good question.
And maybe think bigger. What do you think is the secret sauce, the key ingredient for a truly great movie-to-game adaptation? One that nails it for both the Die Hard fans and the critics.
And building on that, what parts of the original Die Hard film, beyond just the obvious characters and setting, do you think are absolutely essential for a game to capture to feel authentic?
Is it the isolation, the humor, the specific villainy, the Christmas setting?
What would you prioritize if you were making a Die Hard game today? What truly makes Die Hard in an interactive sense?
Something to mull over as you navigate your own Nakatomi Plazas.